Hello and welcome back to Guyanese Swag, where we bring you interviews from leaders across the diaspora who are shakers and movers in their field, getting things done. Today is no different. We have with us one of the founding partners of Black Fern Media. He's a producer and a photographer. His name is Yohance Bailey. So, Yohance, what part of Guyana are you from?
So I was actually born in Amelia's Ward in Linden, way back in 1983. And I lived for a while in Georgetown until I was about 7 years old, and then we moved, and I haven't been back. I haven't been back since I was probably 8 years old. So I'm about to be 40 years old in a couple months. So it's been a long time. It's been, yeah, do the math on that.
Wow. So when you guys moved and you were 7 years old, where did you migrate out of Guyana, or did you just move to a different part of Guyana?
We migrated out of Guyana. We lived in St. Lucia I lived there for about 10 years. So from about 7 years old to 17 or 18, somewhere around there. And yeah, my parents both left. My dad lived in Antigua for a while, and my mother and I moved to St. Lucia. And you know, life was rough in Guyana at the time, so they really wanted to get out. Yeah, so that's how that happened.
And so then once you guys left St. Lucia, was the States the next stop?
Yes, we moved in 2000 from St. Lucia to the Bronx in New York. There was my mother and my father, but both of them were just essentially chasing the American dream. They knew that life was rough where they were from. You know, I remember life in Guyana at the time. It was really rough. You know, we lived in essentially a junkyard when I was a little kid in Georgetown. You know, we had electricity going out every 2 seconds. We had indoor plumbing, I guess, but no stove. We had no fridge. You know, you had wild animals in the backyard. It was just a very different life than it is here in America. So my parents just wanted to move, and yeah, we ended up living in the Bronx, the jungle. They call the Bronx the jungle, ironically. So yeah.
So walk us through that experience. What was that like coming from Guyana and going to St. Lucia, both of which have the tropical oasis, the tropical vibe, the sun, all that stuff, and then going to the Bronx where there's snow and there's cold. What was that experience like?
I did not like it at all. It was not what I thought snow, because I had never experienced snow before. Before we came to the Bronx, and on TV you see the Christmas movies, and you you think like it's this wonderful winter wonderland. Meanwhile, it was like the fall, and I was like, wow, this winter is really tough. And they go, it's not winter yet, man. It's October. This is the fall. So I was like, wait, it gets colder than this? So hey, to this day, I am not a winter fan. I don't like it. And not even the Americans like it, so I don't even know. Nobody likes the cold, man. We gotta come down to Florida where you at. That's what we trying to do.
That's precisely why I left the cold. When we moved, we went to DC, and then the first opportunity I got to leave that cold, I was out of there. I'm like, no, sir, I cannot be bothered. Digging, shoveling snow, falling on black ice. Oh my God, I don't miss that.
I got a bad back. I can't fall right now, man. I can't. I got 40-year-old back. I can't do it. Can't do it, man. I gotta go. My dad actually just moved to Florida.
Really?
He just bought his retirement home in Ocala, Florida. I don't know how far Guyanese Swag is from there, but yeah, he lives in Ocala, Florida, the horse capital of the world. So I hope to visit him sometime soon. You know, maybe this year or next year and so on. So yeah, that's the spot, man. But yeah, you know, I'll say this. I talk to people about it all the time. I think a hard life, depending on how your perspective is, can drive motivation. And for me, even though I can move from here, I've managed to build successful businesses here, and I've received a lot of love from the communities that I live in. And so it's become home to me. So even though I have the option of going somewhere more comfortable, I feel like being in a strange kind of way, being in the cold, miserable upstate New York is keeping me motivated. I'm not comfortable at all. So I gotta, maybe if I was too warm and comfortable, I might not want to work. Who knows?
So that actually takes us right into my next question. Talk to us about business and entrepreneurship. We moved from Guyana, then St. Lucia. We're now in the Bronx. How did we go from the Bronx to now business owner? Talk to us about that journey.
Well, it's a long, arduous journey that was fraught with a lot of mistakes and a lot of figuring things out. But the thing that I did know, Guyanese people and Caribbean people in general, we work hard. That's what we're known for, especially the ones that come to America. Most of us know the struggle and how hard it is to come here. I watched my parents execute and struggle to be able to come here. Because at the time, just getting a green card from living in Guyana, you couldn't get a visa to visit America. You couldn't. That's why we moved to St. Lucia. So my mother had to go to BIM or Barbados to get a visa just to be able to come to America. So there's so many hoops and hurdles that you jump through to come here. So when we come here, typically we feel like we've arrived, in more ways than one. And so we're just ready to go. We're ready to pound the grindstone and start working and stuff like that. So I saw my parents just execute plans, work hard, accomplish things that a lot of people are not able to do that are born here in America. And so I didn't have it as rough as they did because they worked hard to get me here. But I just kind of knew that working a 9-to-5 job wasn't for me. I had a hard time holding down jobs and, having Guyanese parents who were telling you, man, listen, you got to work 3-4 jobs, you got to bust your butt. And I was like, man, I want to do it, but I'm not happy doing this. I couldn't figure out, I tried all kinds of things. I was even in the carpenter union in New York City. I was in the carpentry union. I worked in sales. I worked in name it. I worked in everything. I just could not. I was a nurse. I'm still a nurse, actually. I still have my nursing license. And even though I was making good money in nursing, even though I was making good money in construction, I still wasn't happy. So during the pandemic, and this wasn't that long ago. This is 3 years ago, somewhere around there. I decided I wanted to try my hand finally in my life. I had enough of doing jobs I didn't really want to do, that I was just doing for money. And I was like, what can I do that I love to do and I can do consistently without failure? So I can, represent my parents in the way that would make them happy. And of course, make, any person that I'm with happy as well, because, you're a man, your woman wants you to work hard, And so I decided to start a business, and here we are. I work full time. I own 4 businesses, and very happy, enjoying success at the moment. So it was a long journey, long story there. I know that was a long story, but yeah, that's kind of how we got here.
Talk to me about the process, that whole process of working 9 to 5, trying different jobs, trying to figure out where you fit in any of those, and then realizing that, hey, none of this is for me. I prefer entrepreneurship, and so let me pursue this journey. Talk to me about that process, because I feel like today with social media, we see a lot of glimpses of success, and people assume that success is what you see on the internet. And so it's like right now I'm posting the perfect photo, the perfect video, and this moment is perfect, but you know nothing about all of what went into this 1 30-second photo. So talk to me about that process.
Yeah, as you know, social media, a lot of social media is a facade. It's a lot of people want to represent themselves on social media. Social media is a necessary need. I honestly, if I didn't have a business, I wouldn't be on social media, to be honest with you. I only got back on social media once I started my businesses, because I was like, hey, I got to, this is free marketing. Okay. And so it still serves a good purpose, obviously. That's kind of how you found me. So a lot of social media is a facade. You just have to know how to use it and leverage social media for your purposes. I don't get caught up in the facade of social media. I don't get caught up in displaying myself in some sort of fake glamorous kind of way. I don't post too much about my personal life on social media. I post about my businesses. I'm just very smart about how I post. It's everything is purposeful in the way you post. So if I'm going to post a photo on social media, to answer your question, I post a photo because a photo with the content drives engagement more, right? It sort of serves to connect the business owner with the audience. So I am very curated in that way. And this is a lot of how I extend my services to my clients as well, in purposeful content and the way you present yourself and so on, answering questions that your clients may have in that content. And so that's how I approach it, social media in a very purposeful kind of way. I post everything. There's a subliminal message to almost everything. So that's kind of, you have to put some thought into it. You have to sit down and think, and you have to have an overall mission that you're working towards, that you take your step-by-step approach. And hey, social media is one of those things that you use for that.
As a kid growing up and watching your parents come to the U.S. and go through that, what I call the struggle to become journey, so that you can then become the business owner that you are today. What was that experience like for you, and what were the emotions that you had about those experiences?
The emotions I had were very varied. Some of them weren't very good because I was having a hard time processing the life that I had down in Guyana and in St. Lucia and how difficult they were. Life is rough for us as Guyanese people, even when we leave. St. Lucia, I do consider St. Lucia one of my homes. I had a great time growing up there for the most part, but at the beginning it was very rough, having my Guyanese accent and so on. And other times, Guyanese were known as hustlers, man. Everywhere we go, we work hard. And some of the people were threatened. I don't know if some of them are going to see this podcast, but I apologize. This is the way things are. I'm not holding any grudge at all. I'm a grown man now, but at the time when things were rough, people were threatened by us because we came and we come very educated, right? My mother is very educated, my father as well. Even if they don't have the academics, my father, for instance, he has something called emotional intelligence, which is just as valuable as any academic, if not more academic credentials. And so people know that. People know Guyanese are filled with all kinds of emotional intelligence in terms of work ethic. And so there were some people who were threatened by that. But I was processing that stuff. I was analyzing and trying to figure out whether or not I realized it. I was trying to figure out what my role and what my purpose was going to be. It took me a while, but I eventually figured it out. I figured out I'm just not like everybody else. I can't be the guy that just, wakes up every day at 6 a.m. and starts work at 8 a.m. and gets done with work at 4 o'clock. I've given that up so I can work 24/7. And I'm happy doing it.
Talk to me now about Black Fern Media. What was the moment for you that's like, aha, this is it and this is where I want to take my next step?
So essentially, during the pandemic, I decided to, it was funny, it's been a step-by-step process. I knew what the end goal was, I just didn't necessarily know how to get to each step. So it's like, if you create a vision board, which I did, I created a vision board. I said, this is where I want to be financially. This is where I want to be in terms of how I feel about myself. Or this is how I want to be. Okay, I'm not there right now, but I want to be there in this time frame. So I gave myself a certain amount of time to accomplish these goals, but I didn't know how exactly I would get there. But I knew one thing, that I would get there by working hard. Okay, outworking everybody that and sort of implementing the mindset that I was blessed with from my parents, who have already done that. They when they were young, they made a plan. They were going to get to America. They were going to have that white picket fence and that home, that suburban home, that nice car in the garage, all that stuff. They did that. Okay, so they blessed me with not only the intelligence, but they also blessed me with seeing, hey, look, you can make a plan, execute it, and through hard work, you can accomplish anything you want. So I said, okay. So I just got to figure out what my path is going to be, because obviously I don't have to fight my way from Guyana to America. I'm already here. So with starting business, I was like, all right, what do I like to do? Well, I like to take pictures. I'm an artist. I've always been an artist. Even when I was in Guyana, as a little boy, one of the first questions somebody asked me was, what do you want to do when you grow up? And people like to ask kids those questions sometimes just for fun, just to see what they'll say. And I said I wanted to be an artist. And they said, whoever it was, they said, no, artists don't make any money. You got to get a regular job. You got to get a normal job. You got to get a bank job, or, people think when you got a briefcase and a suit that means you're making money, and they were just like, you got to get a regular job. So that's what I did my whole life. I bounced from regular job to regular job. I'm still a licensed nurse. You know, I'm still part of the Carpenters Union. Once you get in, you don't leave. So I still get letters from them. Okay. So I got regular jobs, you know. But I picked up a camera and I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to be an artist. Let me take some pictures and see what happens. Take some pictures of my kids, put it online. People liked it. I enjoyed it. For the first time ever, I found something that I like to do that I can do over and over and over and not feel trapped. I was free. I felt free. And along the way, every time that I've set goals, micro goals towards the overall goal, I've been able to accomplish it. You know, I wanted to get into movies. I wanted to become a producer. So in becoming a producer, I said, hey, let's start a production company. And here we are. We started Black Fern Media last year. It's one of the 4 companies that I own that is centered around the basis of cameras and media. And yeah, we're doing pretty good. We have a commercial that's debuting here soon on television that we did for a client recently. And yeah, we keep going.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break for a message from today's sponsor, and we will be right back.
Meet Kim. She recently moved to a new neighborhood and has a craving for pine tart and cheese rolls. She Googled Guyanese restaurants in her neighborhood and received recommendations for Ghanaian restaurants instead. While she was at the park walking, her dog Kim ran into Susan, a fellow Guyanese, who introduced her to the Guyanese Swag Business Directory, a comprehensive listing of reputable Guyanese-owned businesses across the diaspora. Kim now regularly visits the GuyaneseSwag.net, where she can easily find trusted and reliable Guyanese-owned businesses and stay updated on upcoming events throughout the diaspora. Since the directory offers detailed business profiles, including pictures, videos, specials, contact information, and even reviews from neighbors, Kim is able to stay connected to her roots in her new home away from home. Register your business for free by visiting GuyaneseSwag.net.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Key McKay. I'm your host, and today we're with Yohance Bailey. He is a founding partner, producer, and photographer at the Black Fern Media. He was just about to tell us how amazing Black Fern Media is. So, my next question for you, Yohance, is for those who don't know what Black Fern Media, obviously you just gave us a little introduction to that, but can you dive more into it in terms of the service that you guys offer and how you're servicing the community today?
Well, first of all, let me address the fact that you call me Yohance. That's how I know you're Guyanese, because Americans always call me Yohance. You know how Americans talk already. Everything got a little, you know, a little Yankee on it, you know. But or Yohance or whatever it is they say. But no, you're actually in the correct way. It's one of the first. Other than my mother, nobody calls me Yohance. So that's really the way to say it. Not even my wife calls me that way. She don't even know that that's how you say it. But anyway, so Black Fern Media, our tagline, which for me, it's important to, of course, have a title that sort of kind of gives your clients or your audience some idea of what you do. But the tagline is another opportunity for you to further explain that, and I'm sure you know this already, for you to further explain that in a way that is easier for people to remember, right? And it sort of continues to tell them what you do and what you offer. And so at Black Fern Media, we build brands with captivating content. Okay, that's easy to say. Nice short line. You can also have a one-word tagline, like for instance, Barack Obama when he was running. I think his tagline was hope, I believe, or something like that, or change. Something. I don't know. It was like one word. By the way, it gives you an idea of what he's about. So when you hear Black Fern Media building brands with captivating content, what we do is we help other businesses build their brand. Now, when we say captivating content, and the business is called Black Fern Media, it doesn't mean that we just do camera media. It means that we provide you assistance in any form of media, whether it's photography, whether it's video, whether it's graphic design, whether it's logo design, right? That's part of graphic design, website design as well. And we believe in providing value to our clients. So what that means is there's times where a client may come to me for a commercial. But I'm not just going to give you a commercial. I'm going to treat you like I'm a doctor and you're a patient. I'm going to figure out why you want a commercial. What markets do you want to play your commercial at? Because maybe that'll dictate the way we film it, the way we present it. What are your age demographics you're going after, right? A lot of companies that provide media, they won't even ask you those questions or help you with that because they're just trying to get some money. To me, It's important for me to get paid, of course. I got to get paid, but I want to make sure that you're getting paid and that you're winning and that your profits are increasing. Because if I don't do that, one, you're investing in me when you purchase commercial or whatever it is from me, website, whatever it is from my business, you're investing, which means you're looking for an ROI. I have to do my best to assist you in achieving that goal, because what's going to happen if I don't do that is that you're not going to come back to me. Essentially, you just blew $2,000 for a commercial, and you didn't get an ROI. Okay, and I didn't do a good job in explaining to you how and helping you achieve that. So you're not going to come back to me. So now I have to go chase after a new client. It costs 5 times as much money to acquire a new client than it does to retain one that you already have. Why not have a continued relationship? So at Black Fern Media, what we look to do is we look to help you by providing value even more than the product that you're seeking.
You just tapped into something that I think is very important, and a lot of business owners underestimate the value of it. And that's one, relationship with clients, and two, good customer service. I think that those two things are very undervalued. And you can look at that, or you can just feel it from walking in the door, the way you're greeted, the way people talk, them cashing out your products, just the relationship, the attitude. At what point, or were you always like that, or at what point did you realize, like, hey, this is something that is beneficial to my business and is beneficial to my clients?
I've always sort of noticed that I not to put down our people, but I go to Guyanese restaurants, I go to Jamaican restaurants, I go to Caribbean, venues. First of all, we have to not always just have restaurants. We got to get into some other stuff too, right? But I'm just saying, we can do more than just hair and food, okay? But essentially, I go to these places, and I've never liked the customer service when I go to our people's places, okay? And so this is a call to action where I get you guys to buck up and do better. Because when you don't treat your customers like we're bothering you, okay? We're here to give you money. We're trying to help you pay your bills, okay? So a courtesy, a smile, a good afternoon, being on time, all these different kinds of things help out. How does it help out? Well, there's a thing called word of mouth, okay? Word of mouth marketing is free. I have to pay for Google Ads for my business. But if my business was doing well, if I had great customer service, it means I don't have to spend as much as Google. People are just coming in the door because, hey, look, not only do they have a great product, but they also care about making sure that I have a good experience. When you work in the service industry, your customer experience, in some cases, and in fact, most cases, actually more important than the product. If somebody likes you, they will spend money with you. And even if your product isn't good, they will become what you call an alpha client, which is a client that wants to help you do better. So they might come in and say, hey, look, you actually could do better if you clean up that table in the corner. Or you could actually do better if you're answered the phone every once in a while when we call, and answered and say, good afternoon, my name is such and such. Welcome to our business. How can I help you? Instead of, hello, what? We want. You know how we are, man. We got to do better. And we got these Africans and people from other countries, parts of the diaspora that come to this country, and they slay in the game, okay? So we got to do the same, man. We know how to work hard, but let's invest some of our thought and our mental into customer service. I like to feel good when I go to a business. I like to feel wanted. I like to feel like my patronage is desired. So I extend that to my clients. And in my town, I have the most 5-star reviews in my business. I have almost 100 5-star reviews, and we've only been in business for 3 years on my photography side. And I get clients just off of that. Like every time a customer leaves me a review, I leave them a thank you for leaving a review. And Google, all of a sudden, my SEO is popping. So then they send somebody else to me. So I make money because my customer service is good. So I think we need to start thinking.
You tapped on something else that I want to tap into. Early on, you talked about visualization and the power of positive thinking. When and how did you get into that?
That's a long road, because I feel like, some of the skills that people have, like my parents, even though they had those skills, I don't know if they thought about the fact that they had those skills. Now, what does that mean? I'm touching on self-awareness. Some people have hard work and they're driven, but they don't. I don't know how else to describe it. Thinking about your thoughts is a thought, right? And why you do the things you do. Because if you can refine it like a factory, then you can produce more of it when you want, how you want, and make it clean, like a clean product. And it's not just your product in business, but it's your product in your mind. Okay? You are your first product, right? So when you approach yourself and your behavior in that kind of way, what you tell yourself, say, hey, look, I'm gonna do this thing, and this is why I want to do this. Well, why do I want to do this thing? If your reasons for being motivated, starting a business or whatever it is just to feed yourself, then you're gonna get tired. But like the mother whose child is being crushed by a car, you find strength when you try to help other people. And so if your mission and your goal in business and your overall mission in life is greater than yourself, it gives you extra power and extra strength. In the case of my parents, their kids were hungry and starving in Guyana. And what gave them the extra strength to bust their butt and do 6 different jobs so they can accomplish their goals or not eat. My mother, for instance, didn't eat for months before, so she could save up enough to just get an apartment and buy a plane ticket for us to come to America. If she didn't have kids, who knows if she would have been there. But she had a greater purpose than herself. So for me, I found greater purpose than myself, and it keeps me motivated. So that's what I kind of think about. I don't know if that answered your question. I might have got no diversion there.
Oh, no, that was not a diversion at all. You definitely tapped on it. I think one of the things that I love about entrepreneurship is it makes you dig into yourself. And in order for you to become successful as a business owner, and I'm not just talking about just a mom and pop business, but if you're really going to have an actual business, you have to become self-aware. You have to become in alignment with your own thoughts, because that's the only way you can push past, like you said, just a meal for me and my family, just enough for me to survive. In our community, one of the things that's not talked about enough, and it's actually not even encouraged, is mental strength, mental health. That's the word I'm looking for. Mental health. It's I remember growing up, and it's like, oh no, you're just crazy. And it's like, no, that person has a mental illness. That person needs mental love. They need mental. And so the fact that you're able to tap into that, I kind of want to dig more into that conversation, because one, May is Mental Awareness Month, and 2, I think that in our community, that's a conversation that's not talked about enough. It's like you can see what's going on TV. Like I remember growing up in Guyana and watching TV, and it's like knowing that we're gonna move to America, and it's like you're and I didn't realize this until I was actually writing my book. Growing up and watching TV and visualizing what it's like when you're going to live in America, that's visualization, but you don't even know that that's a terminology until you started digging into self-development, until you started digging. Like, wait, I was doing visualization way back then. I was using the power of positive thinking way back then, but you didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. First of all, I'd love to hear more about your book, so definitely send me a link to that. I could check that out. But yeah, so I think that it is true. I actually, ironically, had a conversation with a friend of mine earlier today that, it's not embraced enough in our community, being aware of your mental health, seeking therapy and so on. Because I'll tell you something right now. Growing up in the way that I did in Guyana, come to find out years later on, I suffered a lot of trauma. Okay, I was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. We don't even have those words in our vocabulary in our culture, and so that's one of the advantages of me coming to America and so on, is being able to identify those things. So that's how I kind of became self-aware. I think it's because I was around people telling me, "Well, what happened to you as a little kid? Really? And you're not traumatized?" I go, "What's traumatized about what? This is how life is, right?" Come to find out, I was suffering from major anxiety and depression, and that's probably part of the reason I was so unmotivated. Okay. Sort of, being displaced, separation anxiety, never having something to hold on to in terms of even a livelihood, moving from so many different places and so on. Kids need stability, and so I never was able to get that. So it was only, I think, until I was able to wrench my own stability, it's probably part of the reason I've been able to be successful in my own business. I think, they said a Rolling Stone gathers no moss. That's something I've heard my whole life. And having some stability certainly helps. But to answer, go back to your question there, yeah, I think we definitely need to be not ashamed, not afraid to admit what we're going through and what we're feeling. A lot of times we hide our emotions with anger because we're trying to protect that inner child. That inner child who's feeling hungry. We call it, what do they call it? When we got low blood sugar and all of a sudden you're angry now with everybody. Or, somebody, you're standing in front of a couple of friends and one of them calls you out for some mistake that you made. What they did was they embarrassed you. But instead of saying, hey, look, I don't appreciate you saying this in front of everybody. Can we have a conversation at another time? Instead of just saying that, they latch out, well, you this and you that, and then it turns into an argument, right? People get used to this kind of behavior, this kind of deconstructive behavior, and they think it's normal. It's not normal. And even if it is normal, it's not acceptable. Okay, being able to be honest within yourself and how you truly feel and express that to other people in a clear and concise way. I know it's a little easier for me to do. I'm a talkative kind of guy, but I still think that we should be in our community more aware of ourselves in terms of our thoughts and not be afraid to seek therapy, not be afraid to think about and talk about what we're truly feeling, whether it's embarrassment, shame. Don't mask everything with anger. That's essentially what I'm saying.
Coming full circle to business ownership and self-awareness, how was those two merged for you, and how are they serving you cohesively with each other today as a business owner? How do you feel like it's contribute to your success?
I think that what it does for me is it allows for me to tap into what works. The grind of having a small business and growing it is very difficult. It's a 24/7 job. But you have to be aware of what keeps you motivated, what keeps you happy, and so on, and what can get you going. And for you, it might be something different, whether it's feeding your kids or your family, whether it's just having validation, whether it's just the money. I don't know what it is, whatever it is that keeps you, maybe having a bigger mission, whatever it is, maybe making somebody else proud of you, or a combination of all of it. But I think that figuring out what keeps you motivated and thinking inwardly is going to help you in whatever your goals are. And what a lofty goal it is to have a successful business and then to become an employer as well, which is something that I've now moved into. I'm not just creating work for myself, but I've created work for others as well. I have people that are relying on me to produce, work and money for them so they can feed their families and pay their bills. So that keeps me even more motivated, right? And because we're a small business, we're working with people that we have friendships with, you know what I'm saying? And I know their families, so I'm even more motivated to help them achieve their goals. So all of these things can be true to self-awareness and self-discovery. And I know it sounds kind of vague, and it's kind of, if you've never heard of it or you've never looked into it, it's difficult. But just like any journey, it starts with one step, and just take one step. Just knowing those words, hearing it, looking it up and seeing what it means is your first step.
Fast forward to now, we're a business owner, employees, and we're doing the whole 9 yards. For the person who's looking at this video and they're just getting started on their journey, they're at the place where they're like, I'm working all these jobs and I don't like any of them, and I think entrepreneurship might be it for me. What are some words of encouragement, and what are some action steps that they can take to even start to navigate that pathway?
Well, for me, if I could refine that into a juice, I'll be rich, because I know what worked for me. And I've tried to pass it on to other people. It don't necessarily work. Okay. And so I told you the story about how I became an entrepreneur and what motivated me. It was, going back to thinking about what the first thing I wanted to do. Because, for instance, our creative producer in our company, she's asking the same question because she does everything. So we just kind of have her doing everything. She helps us with photography. She helps with design. She helps with everything. And she's like, I'm like telling her, she's like, well, I always wanted to do this and I want to do that. I want to do this. I was like, And Andy, I know if you're watching this, I apologize. I'm not disrespecting you. I'm just saying, you know how you are. You want to do everything. But I said to her, I said, well, for me, it's being able to focus like a laser beam allows you to cut through any sort of material. And that, and in this case, is making money, right? To create a successful business. Well, I needed to go back to something that I felt like I could do over and over, that I enjoyed. But you know what I actually did? And this was my little secret, okay? I took a personality test. It was called the Myers-Briggs Personality Index. It's not necessarily scientific, but it is scientifically based by Carl Jung, who is a noted psychologist from the early Swiss psychology in the early 20th century. And what he essentially said was there's about 16 personality types. And it's not horoscopes. I know we love horoscopes in the islands. I'm not talking about Pisces and Capricorn and all this stuff. It's more scientifically based on that, okay? It's not just based on the day you were born. It's based on behaviors that you exhibit from throughout childhood. In other words, it's behaviors that you can't change. This is just who you are. You ever see some children, when they're born, they behave, they do one thing a certain way, and the adults, they do the same thing, even though they've changed in other ways, but there's certain things that they always do. And you're like, that's that person? Well, that's part of your personality. For me, I've always been a talkative guy. I've always been good with my words. I've always had the gift of gab. Okay, and since I was small, I used to get in trouble for talking too much in class. And the teacher would say, you talk too much, blah, blah, blah. Little did they know that I was working on a life skill. Okay, because I opened so many doors for myself just with my ability to speak. Okay, so what I did was, what allowed for me to embrace that side of myself was I took a personality test. Come to find out, I'm a personality test called ENFP, extroverted, feeling, intuition, and perceiving. And once I found out what that acronym meant and what it meant for me, then I was like, holy crap, that sounds exactly like me. So all those things that I was told that I shouldn't do or I did too much of, or, why are you like this and you're not like this? Or why you don't behave like your father, or you don't behave like your brother, or something like that. Come to find out, it's okay for my brother to be the way he is, or my father to be the way he is, because that's them. Me, I'm me. So you learn to accept yourself for who you are, love yourself for who you are at your core. Once you find out that, that's what for me helped to unlock self-awareness. Was like, okay, so if I'm always the guy, if it is okay for me to be the talkative guy, then maybe I should embrace that. So I work in marketing. I do the marketing for my company. Okay. And that's, I do customer discovery and I do customer relations. I deal with the clients. I'm the first contact for the clients because that's my skill. My business partner, that's not necessarily his strongest skill, but he's good at other things that I'm not necessarily good at. He's the guy that's great with the sitting behind with the contracts and making sure he can sit at the computer screen for hours looking at white paper with black letters on it. I can't do that. That drives me nuts. Okay, so it's just kind of figuring out who you are at your core, and that's also part of psychology. Embrace psychology. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, it don't make you weak or crazy, as people like you talked about. People say you're crazy. Well, let's not use those labels. Some labels can be hurtful. Sometimes people are suffering from mental health issues that are behavioral, that can be attuned and fine-tuned and sort of corrected. And that was the case with myself. So, yeah, that was my little secret, that the Myers-Briggs Personality Index. I took a personality test and a psychology test.
I think that you are true to nature. You have, throughout the entire conversation, all of your words have been consistent, but just even your follow-up actions, like I didn't just start to read books or started visualizing, like I took it to the next step. I took action. And I think that a lot of people don't understand the importance of that, of following your words with action. My final question for you is, today where you're sitting, looking back to where you are, what were, one, some of the actions that led to the man that you are today? And two, for the young person looking at this, what are some words of wisdom that you can give them to avoid some of the mistakes you made that could have probably helped you accelerate the process to who you are today?
Once again, I do appreciate your question because, and by the way, compliments to you. This podcast has been wonderful. You've asked wonderful questions and you're a great listener. So thank you so much for that. But what I would say to younger people listening is, I'm gonna pivot here. It's actually okay to make mistakes, because all of those mistakes that I made younger, chasing all of those jobs that didn't fit in line, trust me, I got advice from my parents. They were like, hey, man, you need to do this, you need to do that. But they're not me, okay? My father and mother, as accomplished as they are and awesome as they are, they never wanted to be an entrepreneur. And there's nothing wrong with it, okay? There's nothing wrong with them not wanting to do it. There's nothing wrong with me wanting to pursue it. I know for my father and my mother, they was like, wait, you leave in nursing to become that? What are we talking about right now? This is crazy. But I was like, nah, trust me, I got it. You know, I know what I'm doing. Okay. And so now they believe they love it. You know, my mother knows everything. If I don't talk to my mother for a week and I go, hey mom, I just got a new review in Google. That was awesome. She goes, yeah, I read it. I was like, wow, she stay up on everything. She know everything that I'm doing everywhere. Like she so I love my mom. But yeah, no, I think what I would say to younger people is, you know, it's actually okay to make mistakes. Just don't make the kind that you can't correct. And allow yourself grace. You know, when people are young, when you're 5 years old, you don't behave the same way as you did when you were 2 years old. When you were 15, you didn't behave the same way as you were 5, because as you continue to grow, you learn from mistakes. All of those mistakes that I made when I was younger led to this. And it's okay. Just give yourself grace. You know, life is a continuously evolving process. And when you stop looking as good as you used to look, guess what? This thing is still growing and it's getting stronger and stronger. I'm way smarter than I was when I looked at it. Okay. So I might have lost my looks a little bit, but I gained this and I like this better. Okay. So, allow yourself grace. You know, that's how life is, man. Just like I said, don't make no mistakes. You know, I have family members who've been to jail and got deported back to Guyana. Don't make dumb kind of mistakes, okay? But, you know, you got fired, you know, you told your boss off because you didn't like what he had to say to you. You shouldn't do that, but now you know what not to do in the next job, right? You know how not to approach, right? So you test the boundaries. Your mother tell you don't put your hand in the hot stove. You're going to get burned. Well, you're going to do it anyway. You get burned, guess what? You ain't going to never do it again, okay? So that's okay, because now I know not to put my hand on the hot stove. So that's all right. So we continue to evolve. We continue to get better, become better versions of ourselves, and that's okay. And hopefully one day for you, and it happens to people at different times in their life, hopefully one day for you, you finally grow up and you finally put it all together. Just don't wait till you're too old, because life is short, right? So if you're a guy, especially, try to get your stuff together before you're 30 years old. Okay, women ain't looking for dudes that ain't got it figured out. Okay, don't let all these dudes. That's why a lot of women date dudes that are way older than them, because they're like, man, I need that. But the dudes my age, they just don't. They can't figure it out. Okay, so you don't want to be one of them dudes. All right, just get your stuff together. Women like to see dollars and cents. Okay, get your money right, baby.
This has truly been an amazing podcast. I've enjoyed every minute of this conversation, and I think that you are a true inspiration in business and out of business, and your lifestyle, the way that you've lived, the progression that you've made is a true testimony to not just your parents, but to you as a man. And I'm really proud to have had the opportunity to interview and connect with you today. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
I appreciate that. I feel the same way about you, and let's keep it going. Let's keep it. You know, I think I got a new friend. I love to keep talking to you. I love what you have to say. I love your motivation, and your viewers are definitely in for a good ride by keep watching your podcast. This is dope. This is a really good. This is really good. Okay. And for Guyanese people out there, I still know how to talk to Guyanese, all right? I still know how to do that. It's all the ain't gone yet, all right? It's still there.
I love it. For all the Guyanese people watching this, Yohance, how can they connect with you? How can they support your business and the mission that you're on?
People can, that's funny. I have so many websites, but I'm wearing the Black Fern Media shirt because the riches are in the niches, okay? So y'all ain't got to know that I own 4 businesses necessarily. Let's focus on Black Fern Media. Black Fern Media builds brands with captivating content. Our website is BlackFernMedia.com. BlackFernMedia.com. We build brands with captivating content. And so our contact email is on there, phone numbers, whatever you need to know about Black Fern Media to help you grow your business and take it to the next level and invest in yourself. Check us out.
And on that note, we'll call this one a wrap. We thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you for being a part of the Guyanese Swag community. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and drop us a comment so we know how the video has inspired you. And while you're down here in the comments, click the links in the description to connect with Yohance's company. Is doing amazing things. If you're a business owner, you need branding, reach out to this brother and he will get your business right. Thank you guys for hanging out and have a phenomenal day. Peace.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and hit that notification bell.